Okay, well, it is 9:30 on the left coast, and we're going to get started here. I just wanted to welcome everyone to the Atrius Real-Time Location Systems webinar. My name is Tim Hu from Buckle Smith Electric, and just two very quick housekeeping items before we get started. This webinar is being recorded, and the link will be shared shortly after the event. We encourage you to submit any questions via the Q&A function located in the bottom of the menu, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Troy Miller, VP of Applied IoT Solution Sales at Acuity Brands. So go ahead and take it away, Troy, when you're ready.
Hi, welcome everybody. Thanks for attending. I'm going to spend the next 30 to 40 minutes helping you understand real-time location systems and the solution that we have from Acuity Brands called Atrius. So I'm going to go through a deck, and I'm also going to show some actual applications. So at the end, I'm going to leave some time for questions, and hopefully we have some good engagement, and I'm sure you'll find this really interesting. I'd like to thank Buckles and Smith for setting up this webinar, and it should be a great experience for everybody. So let me go ahead and share my screen and get into the presentation. Okay, so first off, I wanted you to understand who we are. So Acuity Brands has a number of different lighting controls and real-time location services brands underneath the umbrella, but we are the #1 North America commercial lighting provider. And we also have building management systems under that umbrella as well. So brands like Holophane, Lithonia Lighting, and also N-Light Control System are all brands of Acuity, and we have many applications. So one of the other things we branched out into was real-time location systems, and that is under the brand of Atrius. So we have lots of applications in which we've implemented Atrius. So we are well versed in this particular space, and I'm going to walk you through some of the solution. So, but first I want to explain a little bit about what real-time location systems are. So through fixed reference points and wireless technology, we're able to track people and things within an indoor space. So that's powerful because it makes you location aware. So simply put, using the lighting system is how we accomplish this with Atrius. But just to help you understand a little bit more about some of the wireless technologies that are out there, and because there's other providers for real-time location systems, and it can be a little bit confusing what solution might be best for you. So some of the wireless technologies that enable real-time location systems include ultrasonic, RFID, Wi-Fi, ultra-wideband, and what Atrius uses is Bluetooth Low Energy. So each one of these particular wireless technologies has advantages and disadvantages. So from accuracy to equipment cost to types of power, all those things are factors in the solution that you want to provide to your customer. But they all share this infrastructure cost burden. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, to establish the location with real-time location services, you need two things. You need wireless technology and you need fixed reference points. Those fixed reference points may need power. So if you have to run that power infrastructure through the building, the more fixed reference points you need to increase your accuracy, the higher that infrastructure cost becomes. So that's where Atrius is a little bit different, okay? So Atrius utilizes the lighting infrastructure to create that RTLS infrastructure. So it makes a lot of sense. It's an infrastructure grade common use IoT platform that provides location awareness. And that's our definition. Don't get intimidated by that. Simply means we're using the lighting infrastructure to establish your position indoors, and we're communicating wirelessly with that infrastructure via Bluetooth, okay? How that's advantageous? Okay, so it's integrated. So we sell lighting that has integrated Bluetooth radios. That benefits you in a number of different ways. So we provide communication through the controls network via those Bluetooth radios. So you get basic control functionality, like occupancy detection, daylight harvesting, a number of different layers of energy savings from controls, but we can also utilize the radio to communicate with things like asset tags and mobile phones to establish your location within that facility. So those are embedded technologies, and that's cost effective, because if you're relighting your facility, you can layer in functionality. It becomes scalable, because as your building expands, if you implement more lighting that has Bluetooth radio controls enabled, we can expand the footprint of that RTLS solution. And it follows our factory warranty, so it's a very effective solution. So in relations to the common use IoT platform, again, we're piggybacking off of the lighting system. And when we aggregate the data for the RTLS solution, we push that into the cloud. Okay, so there's some computation within the cloud that we perform, and we can report that information out in the form of application programming interfaces, APIs, or SDKs, software development kits. And that can be integrated into your existing systems or layer on top of new ones. And also we provide some out-of-the-box turnkey packages to visualize some of that data as well. So the flexibility of the Atrius system is that it's not tied to, say, one software package or one type of solution. We do provide a solution, but if you want to integrate it into your own, you can do that. So I'd like to use a similar example to help associate the solution that we provide. So Uber connects riders with drivers, and without the map layer of that particular application, it's hard to determine where the driver is in location to you as a rider. But once you have that layer of mapping, now you've got an added level of functionality. You're spatially aware, your location awareness increases, right? Well, Uber doesn't develop the map. They use the SDK from Google Maps to layer that into their application. And that's similar to how Atrius works. We provide a layer of data that can be implemented into your existing application so that you can be spatially aware indoors in your facility. We use the lighting network. Uber or Google Maps utilizes the satellite system. So that's a little bit of a similarity example on how things work with our solution. So before we get into the workings of the solution and some applications, I want you to understand some of the device requirements that we have to get the RTLS system implemented. So coupled with our lighting system, our control system, and some additional Atrius hardware, we can unlock the capabilities of real-time location services within the facility. And a one line, this is kind of the connectivity model that we have. And through the lighting with a Bluetooth enabled radio, we can communicate with a mobile device that directly communicates information to the, or we can communicate with Bluetooth tags or sensors that push and backhaul that data through our edge device into our fog gateway, which communicates directly with the cloud. Now, once the information's in the cloud, we can push that out in many different forms, raw data, SDKs, APIs, or we can develop third-party apps in conjunction with the customer or layer it on their existing systems, as I mentioned earlier. So just so you have an understanding of how this one-to-many relationship works with devices, we'd have many lights within a facility that are, say, Enlight Air enabled. They have a radio, and Then we're going to implement some Atrius devices, the edge gateways, as well as an asset tag in this case. And that communicates up to the cloud and then comes back in the form of analytics and user interfaces. So you may need, one edge gateway per 10 fixtures and one device gateway per 100,000 square feet of space, for example. And that's all dependent on, we do a site visit, but it's all dependent on the layout of the facility. If it's a big square warehouse, we typically need less devices because we have a good RF signal across that. But if we run into obstructions like metal walls, things like that, then we just add some more devices to get the signals through those areas. So just a quick look at the actual devices that we have. There are fog gateways. There's 2 fog gateways, depending on what service you need. And the edge gateways come in the form of what looks like a standard power pack. It's got a standard knockout that can be added to any fixture that we have with that mains power capability. And then the Bluetooth low energy tags. These are tags that we would fix to things like fork trucks, pallets of goods. Depending on what vertical you're in, you may put this on anything with wheels, a wheelchair, golf carts, anything you want to track indoors. And that has a small coin cell battery that's going to last about 2 to 10 years, depending on how often a thing is moving through the space. And it's easily changeable as well. The battery's changeable. So that's a overview of some of the devices or the devices that we need for an Atrius network. Now, I just want to help you understand some of the verticals that we currently develop solutions in and how those customers are using the Atrius real-time location services system to add value to their organization. So in retail applications, we have over 500 million square feet of space that we're providing the service. And we provide the service in the form of mobile application layers, as well as asset tracking on the side of carts and baskets throughout the store space. So if a shopper wants to do wayfinding, for example, in a retail store, they can build their shopping list, and then we can help them establish the most efficient route to pick up all their goods. So in the case of our retailers, they typically want to develop their own applications, and we provide them with the raw data. In some of the other verticals, they want a little bit of a head start. So we have some other things we can provide. But in relation to how the retail customers are using this, they are tracking trends with their customers by understanding traffic patterns. They're changing their store layouts. In regards to store operations, they're able to track some of the assets to reduce time spent searching for those assets if they're in locations they're not supposed to be, for example. And then just the overall shopping experience for users is enhanced with some location awareness aspects. So in the industrial vertical, very similar, quantifiable ROI, where we're tracking assets, things like fork trucks, pallets, bins, and parts. We're also able to provide some compliance aspects with equipment maintenance. We can provide zoning that helps you establish whether or not some of those assets are located in the right spots, whether or not gauges need to be calibrated, in regards to some of the things that you might not think about tagging. I always bring up the example of a fire extinguisher. They don't necessarily move all that often, but when they do, you want to know about it. And also if you have a recharge schedule, if they haven't moved in a while and that may mean that they need to be recharged. So you can put schedules on some of those asset tags to figure out when they have moved and when they haven't moved. And then lastly, the business intelligence aspect of spatial awareness in industrial is pretty impactful. We can integrate directly with systems like SAP and Oracle. So establishing location automatically throughout your operations is a capability. So you're probably familiar with how goods are located today with a scanner. They scan the pallet, and they scan the location within the warehouse and establish the location up into the warehouse management system. Imagine having a tag with an associated identity that once it reaches a zone or a spot that you have designated on your map, it automatically sends that XY data into the SAP system and establishes the location of the goods. That's a possibility. So these are some of the things that once you implement them, you won't be able to go without. Your operations just become more efficient without having to have that human interaction and human error impacting your operations. So a case study that we have for industrial includes our Juneau lighting facility. We have tracked everything that has wheels on it. Essentially, we're looking at a lot of our material handling equipment, but once they optimized the fleet based off of usage, they had a $1.2 million net savings with less than a 1-year payback. So that paid for the entire relight and controls investment within the facility. So you don't have to wait for your control strategy to save your energy and pay back your relight. In many cases, we can impact that quite quickly, especially in the industrial vertical. One of the other advantages to this was we could see where congestion points were, and we could understand how those material handling equipment pieces were being used, and we could justify adding an additional shift by resource leveling those pieces of equipment through the facility, and that increased efficiency and it reduced environmental health safety incidences within the facility as well. So some of the dashboards that we have created, this is our web-based software solution for asset tracking, and it shows asset activity and asset utilization over time, as well as a runtime chart on the right side that shows you relational usage of all of those assets that we have in that category for that facility. So this is interesting because what it does is it tells you, are my resources in that category being utilized at full capacity? When are they being utilized and which ones? Okay, so you can make some decisions based off of this information and data. So let me go to the actual product. And show you our instance for the Juneau facility. This provides some a little bit of color about what the solution looks like. So this is our canned dashboards of the mapping. So we create a map that's geo-rectified, and what that means is that this map is actually positioned on the globe. So if I zoom out on this map, this is the map of the facility. And you can see this is located according to its actual location. Each one of those lights has a longitude and latitude position. And as those asset tags move through that space, their position is triangulated and we can track them. So that data is pushed out into this visualization tool. And we have a number of different types of solutions with mapping that can help you understand where your stuff is within a facility. And this can be done in healthcare, industrial, transportation, retail. So if I look at some of these particular fork trucks, we can click on them. We can see the trails that they have. And that's really helpful as far as spatial analysis goes and where my congestion points might be. So we can create additional dashboards that I had showed on the slide, but I'm just going to show you them in real time so that you kind of get an idea of what this looks like to the factory associates, so we can tell the max rate, you know, how many assets do we have and how are we using them. Obviously on the weekend we're running less shifts, so we should see less activity. Show you one more dashboard visualization. So this would be the utilization over time during times of the day. First shift a little more active than second shift and third shift in this case. And as we move down to things like the pallet riders, there's no activity on third shift. So that would lead me to believe when I'm looking at this that, hey, we're only running that maybe first and second shift on with this particular asset. So all great visualization tools that help us make some decisions about how we're operating our facility. So we don't stop at industrial. So there's applications in the healthcare vertical as well. The main objective of the healthcare world is to efficiently, treat patients and make sure that, they're as efficient as possible when they're moving them through the process and taking care of them. So they want to know from an asset tracking standpoint where their beds, wheelchairs, and medical devices are, and they want to understand patient throughput as well. So we can supply compliance data by zoning out certain areas of the facility to make that a soiled or clean and dirty area if they move devices into there that need to be cleaned. Once they moved out, they can change the status and put them in an area that knows that they're ready for use. So again, just understanding where the medical supplies are and the levels are is something that we can help provide with the Atrius real-time location services. Now, contact tracing, something that is possible with the real-time location services system. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to record XY coordinates with a timestamp and associated data in relation to how close those assets or your mobile phone comes in contact with others. If someone reports that they're infected, then we can go into the system and get a list of people that they have been in contact with over a certain period of time, and then you can notify those individuals as to the fact that they've come in contact with somebody with the virus. So airports and transportation is an interesting vertical. Think about an airport. Their goal is to achieve an on-time departure. So helping passengers find the most effective route to their gate so they can get to their destination is something that seems like a pretty straightforward solution in this space. But when they're tracking assets, one of the things that they had told us in the airports is that they want to know where their wheelchairs are, because those are typically the bottlenecks in getting a flight out on time. So if a wheelchair or a passenger that's in a wheelchair is not through security yet, and they know it's going to take a half an hour to get through security, they might decide to have that plane depart and reroute that passenger automatically, for example, and get them on a different flight so that the entire flight isn't suspended. Those are some use cases in the transportation and airport vertical as well. So we've been approached with some ideas about, like in Uber Eats, for example, in the airport. Bring me my food to my location where I'm at my gate. I don't want to have to wait in line. So those are possibilities if they understand where you are and understand how to get there. So that spatial awareness can be transferred into that space as well. So again, just some of the requirements for Atrius. We like to look at indoor space because that's where our lighting footprint is. So, get a lot of questions about outdoor space, and really, there's some aspects about outdoor space that are a challenge because outdoor lighting is typically can be over 30 feet. That can be a Bluetooth communication challenge for us as well. So mounting heights of 30 foot and below are optimal for our solution to establish that location reliably. So using the Nlight Air control solution with an edge gateway per fixture or on a fixture is something that we can set up and get that Atrius enabled space accomplished. So we typically engage with our customers, and as a subject matter expert, I typically present the Atrius solution directly so that we have an understanding of capabilities and meet the expectations of our customers. We work hand in hand with our partners like Buckle-Smith. We do on-site visits to make sure that everything we have on the layout and the map is representative of what's at the actual installation site, so that we can make sure we, again, meet the customer's expectation. But really, it's a pretty simple solution from a device standpoint. I went over this before, but edge gateways, Atrius enablement requires Nlight Air enabled fixtures, and then we can set up fog gateway, use asset tags to establish position indoors. So some questions that can help us build out a customized quotation or a customized solution. We want to think about how big is the facility where you want to track people or things, okay? And then how many people or things do you want to track? A solution that tracks 50 to 100 assets within a space is a different solution than one that tracks 10,000 things within that space. So those are considerations that we take in when we build a solution as well. Then we ask, do you want to use our pre-built Atrius operating system for analytics, which is web-based, or do you want to build your own analytics dashboards and maps? There's some capability to build some things out within that environment by the end user, but some of our customers actually want very specifically tailored solutions, and we can provide partners that can help them build those visualization tools as well. And then we do provide standard service level agreements based on customer needs. We can enhance those service level agreements to whatever capabilities or whatever expectations the customer might need, rather. When it comes to the sales process, we want to make sure that we're along with the customer throughout the process. So there's a number of different associates that we bring in to the solution, but we are there from the beginning till training and implementation. So that's something to consider as well. So I'm just about to wrap up, but I don't expect you to be an RTLS expert after half an hour of talking about this, but we do have some videos and collateral out there that you can reference to help you understand and socialize RTLS within your organization. And by all means, feel free to reference this material and share it within your organization. So if you're wondering how to get started, you can always reach out to Buckle-Smith Lighting Services and request a free lighting audit. That's an option, and they'll help us get involved and connected if RTLS is something that is part of your desire for the relight in that facility. And you can always reach out directly to me and our sales team at Acuity Brands if you have more questions. But at this point, I think I'm going to open it up for a few questions.
Hey, Troy, we got one question in the chat. And it says, can you speak to any food processing customer implementations or use cases?
Yeah, I think there's similarities within, you know, the industrial and warehouse where we're tracking work in progress. So by tracking products throughout the system, you can associate tag data with that in batches throughout the process. So you get a better perspective of maybe if you have to track down batches of product throughout the process, the real-time location services can help you do that. So integration into your existing systems is critical. But I'm also interested in additional use case scenarios that folks in food processing might have, because when we talk to actual associates in their industry, many times they have use cases that we may not be able to dream up or think about unless we're actually in that industry. So that's where we keep the flexibility up to the customer to tell us how we could help them, and then we help them understand how we can apply that solution to them.
Okay, great. Don't have any other questions in the chat, so I'm going to throw up a slide here. Just want to, thank everyone for attending the webinar today. And, remember, you can always email us at info@buckles-smith.com. And we'd be glad to answer any of your questions or, help you schedule a demo with a Buckles Smith rep. And you also receive a pop-up survey in your browser and a follow-up email. So, we'd love to hear your feedback on how we did. And, we'd just like to thank you all for joining us today. And, big thanks to Troy and everyone at Acuity Brands for partnering with us on this webinar and making it happen. So that's it. I'd just like to thank you and enjoy the rest of the week.
Thank you all for attending.